I'm one of those folks who says, yeah, let's go, but I have long experience understanding how complicated this is, even though there is a legitimate reason to essentially divest TikTok from ByteDance and have it owned in the United States.
So a legitimate reason, perhaps, but legal questions and the legality around this is something that actually Brendan Carr, a commissioner over at the FCC, talked about earlier today on Bloomberg Surveillance. Just take a listen to what he told us this morning, and then we'll have you respond.
This plainly is a conduct law, meaning we're acting because of the demonstrated malign national security threat of TikTok, not because of the content of anybody's speech. And the bill is narrowly tailored, which is key for First Amendment analysis, because it simply requires divestment, meaning the millions of Americans that love TikTok, I'm not one of them, but they can continue to use the application, but just in a more secure way.
So I guess, Ambassador, I kind of have a two-part question. One, is it narrowly tailored enough that potentially it would survive legal challenges? But also, isn't the narrow tailoring part of the concern you're hearing on the other side, which is that this is naming a specific private company in legislation targeting it? Is narrow both potentially a good thing and a bad thing?
I think this is a pile-on because if you flew to Beijing today, you would not be able to go on your phone and read anything from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever, because China bans all of those US apps. So there's an issue of reciprocity here. That's number one. Number two, Kaylee, from the strictly legal point of view, and from as someone like me who works with all of these platforms and sees the content, the extremist content. I mean, TikTok is not the worst, but it's one of the great offenders. Give you an illustration. When the October 7th massacre occurred in Israel, Hamas used TikTok to retain influencers on TikTok to disseminate its propaganda operations into the US. Okay. Now, that stinks to high heaven. The fact that TikTok has no algorithms or content moderation to stop that. And that's one of the problems. We've seen all sorts of extremist content on TikTok. It's not the innocent playground a lot of folks make it out to be, even if you argue about its Chinese ownership. But this law doesn't deal with that. This law does not solve that problem.
Ambassador Ginsburg, TikTok says it not only intends to exhaust all legal challenges, which we're talking about here, but a divestiture, it says, would also require approval by the Chinese government, which, of course, says it would firmly oppose a forced sale. We heard from the Chinese today. You could have written this statement in advance. In fact, they did. They issued it before the vote took place. But what will that mean in this process?
I don't know how anyone is going to acquire TikTok in the United States because the magic potion that makes TikTok TikTok is its unique algorithm. And you can't force the Chinese to divest the algorithm if it owns the company. And so no matter what happens here, I don't know who is going to want to put up billions of dollars if the Chinese refuse to provide you the secret gateway to that of what makes TikTok TikTok.
Well, there's also the question, Ambassador, of who would be allowed to buy TikTok. This is not going to be a cheap acquisition. Someone has to make it in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So realistically, it would have to be a larger company that would try to buy it, right? But big tech antitrust is kind of a big thing here in Washington. I can't imagine any big tech company being allowed to get bigger very easily.
Gosh, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, is Mark Zuckerberg going to go off and buy it? Is it going to be someone else? Is Trump's Truth Social company going to go ahead and buy it? I mean, the problem here is that there is the antitrust issue, and most importantly, the anti-competitive issue that is going to be set up should anyone acquire it. That's why I'm saying anyone who's sitting here and worried about this becoming instantaneous law and bye-bye TikTok, let's put it, I think we have a lot more gray hair on my head before I see this happen.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Larry Ellison. Oracle is already hosting TikTok's U.S. data. Ambassador, wouldn't that be an obvious buyer?
Yeah, it's possible, but that again depends on whether Larry Ellison is going to be able to convince China to let him buy the algorithm. And I just don't know. You have to break this down, guys. You have the customer base, okay, and you have the dissemination through the servers, but you got to have the algorithm that permits the videos to be curated the way they are. And if someone can develop the AI here in the United States and substitute it for the algorithm that is owned by ByteDance, that's going to be an important accomplishment to justify the sale.